I invite you to close your eyes for a heartbeat and imagine the hiss of summer rain on scorching pavement, the kind of afternoon that smells of damp asphalt and untold stories. Traffic hums its familiar song, wipers sketch restless arcs across windshields, and time feels almost ordinary. But in a single shattering instant, ordinary will surrender to fate, and the true measure of courage will be revealed. 1. The calm before, on that seemingly unremarkable afternoon, a young pediatric nurse named Maria Santos ends her shift at the county hospital. Her scrubs are dotted with cartoon giraffes, and beneath their cheerful print lies the fatigue of 12 non-stop hours, tending to toddlers fighting fevers, holding new parents' hands, and whispering silly jokes to distract anxious little patients. Her colleagues urge her to grab a coffee before the drive home, but Maria yearns only for the quiet of her small apartment, the promise of fresh sheets, and the chirp of her canary, Athu. She slides into her compact sedan, turns on a mellow acoustic playlist, and pulls onto Highway 37, a gray ribbon flanked by tall pines. Rain begins its gentle drumroll on her roof while dusk steals color from the sky. She imagines how the cool air will taste once she opens her windows at home. Her mind drifts to tomorrow's plans, a stroll through the farmer's market, a phone call to her grandmother in Manila, and perhaps, if she's brave, writing the first lines of the children's book she's been dreaming about for years. To the flashpoint, half a mile ahead. Traffic jolts to a sudden halt. Brake lights blossom like rubies, red upon red, warning of an obstruction beyond the next bend. Maria eases her car into the shoulder, scanning for the reason. A frantic plume of smoke uncoils in the drizzle, backlit by orange flickers. A minivan has veered off, struck the guardrail, flipped, and now rests on its side, engine hissing like an angry beast. Passengers are trapped inside. Instinct outpaces thought. Maria throws her hazard lights on, grabs the small first aid kit she keeps under the seat, and runs. The soaked grass slaps her calves. The smell of gasoline burns her nostrils. Time dilates. Shouts mingle with the patter of rain and the crackle of tiny flames licking the minivan's crumpled hood. A man in a business suit dials emergency services with trembling hands. Someone else tries to pry the driver's door open, but recoils from the heat. Maria kneels beside the shattered rear window, peering into the murky cabin. Among scattered toys and groceries, a little girl, no more than 6, hangs upside down. In her car seat, eyes wide with terror, cheeks streaked with tears. Her mother in the front seat is unconscious, her forehead bleeding, motionless except for a faint rise and fall of breath. "Sweetheart, I'm going to get you out," Maria says, voice steady though her pulse races. "Close your eyes for her. Emmy, it's going to be okay." 3. The inferno within. She searches for a safe point of entry. The rear hatch is jammed. The side door twisted. A shard of metal juts like a fang where the window frame once was. Adrenaline is a flood, but training anchors her. Assess, stabilize, extract. Maria kicks away glass, reaches through, and presses 2 fingers to the girl's wrist pulse. Strong. Relief flickers, but the engine pops, sending a tongue of flame along a thin line of leaked fuel. There's no time. She braces her forearm against the jagged edge, ignoring the slice it draws across her skin. She unclips the girl's seat belt, gently rotates her into her arms, and begins to withdraw, careful, deliberate. A sharp clatter rings out. Metal collapses within the cabin, releasing a blast of heat. Flames kiss Maria's sleeve. She yelps but does not loosen her grip. Outside, 2 bystanders yank a door wider. One drapes his blazer across the broken frame so Maria can crawl out without carving herself open. She emerges, cradling the child against her chest, shielding the tiny face from rain, smoke, and horror. A chorus of relieved voices swells, and Maria presses the girl into the arms of a middle-aged woman kneeling with a blanket. The nurse pivots to return for the mother, but the surge of fire roars louder, roof buckling inward. A searing wave of heat slams her back, and in that instant of retreat, a metallic cry erupts. The van's fuel tank ignites with a thunderous boom, hurling Maria several feet. Pain blossoms across her left side, a blazing stripe from elbow to rib cage. 4. The aftershock sirens wail in the distance as rain sizzles against the growing blaze. Maria struggles to her knees, vision blurred. Someone grips her shoulders, but she focuses on the mother still inside. Firefighters arrive, dousing the wreck in foam, breaking windows, hauling the woman out on a stretcher. Medics swarm. Only when they strap an oxygen mask over Maria's face does she register the acrid scent of her own singed hair and the blistering heat scorching her arm. Through the swirl of medics and flashing lights, she seeks the little girl. At last she spots her wrapped in a silver blanket, small hands gripping a teddy bear offered by a paramedic. Their eyes meet. In a timid whisper, the child mouths, "Thank you." Maria's lungs tighten, not from smoke, but from the weight of that simple gratitude. 5. The long night in the emergency department, where she usually cares for others, Maria becomes the patient. Nurses cut away her charred sleeve, irrigate burns. Dress wounds, intravenous fluids drip. Morphine dulls the pain to a distant roar. Doctors confirm superficial burns across her forearm and shoulder, a hairline fracture in 2 ribs, and lacerations that will leave scars. At dawn, the hospital quiets into its brief lull before morning rounds. Maria lies awake, replaying the infernal glow, the creak of metal, the child's wet cheeks. She knows the mother remains in surgery. She worries about them both despite her exhaustion. A colleague slips into the room with coffee and a shy smile. "You saved that girl," he whispers, eyes shining. Maria shakes her head. "All I did was what anyone decent would do." But the nurse in him, and the entire unit, know it was more. A leap into danger guided by compassion. Her phone buzzes with messages from friends, strangers, journalists. One headline blares, "Off-duty nurse becomes highway hero." Another touts her as an angel. But heroism feels distant from the raw sting of her wounds and the fog of painkillers. She hopes the mother survives. That is what matters. 6. The path of healing days blur into weeks. Physical therapy stretches tender muscles, ointments soothe healing skin. Counselors help her navigate nightmares filled with orange flames. Every session of therapy hurts. Tears break free more than once, but Maria meets each grimace with quiet resolve. Her patients will need her again, and she longs to return to the laughter of children in the ward. A month later, a letter arrives. From a handwriting she doesn't recognize. Inside, a simple drawing. A stick figure nurse with superhero cape holding hands with a stick figure child. Below, crayon letters read, "You saved my life. Love, Emma." Maria traces the crude lines with trembling fingers. She weeps freely, not from pain, but from the sweet proof that trauma can yield tenderness, that chaos can breed connection. 7. The reunion. On a crisp autumn morning, the hospital organizes a modest ceremony to honor responders of that horrific crash. Firefighters polish helmets, paramedics adjust ribbons, reporters bustle with cameras. Maria considers skipping. She dislikes applause, but duty to closure carries her into the auditorium. When her name is called, she climbs the stage. Slowly, still favoring her left side. Spotlights render the crowd a blur of silhouettes. She thanks the firefighters who braved the inferno to save the mother, the bystanders who tore metal with bare hands, and the surgeons who stitched lives back together. She speaks humbly, voice steady yet soft, about community, about the chain of hands that made survival possible. Suddenly, a small voice cries, "Miss Maria." From the front row, Emma, hair now in twin braids, cheeks rosy, runs onto the stage. Her mother follows, still walking with a cane, a faint scar tracking her forehead, but eyes shining with life. The entire auditorium exhales a collective Gasp as Emma wraps her arms around Maria's waist. Cameras click like summer cicadas, but in that embrace, time stills. Tears stream down Maria's cheeks. No medal, no headline, could equal the warmth of this child's hug. The subtle nod of gratitude from a mother once entombed in twisted steel. The lesson woven in flame when reporters thrust microphones forward. Eager for heroic sound bites, Maria breathes deeply. "I am no different from any of you," she says. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's a decision to act while fear rides shotgun. That day, I was simply the closest person who knew how to help. If you learn first aid, if you remain present to the people around you, you can make the same choice. She reminds everyone that heroism rarely announces itself with fanfare. It slips into moments of sudden crisis, on highways, in flooded basements, in the quiet battles of hospitals. In each moment, ordinary people can become the bridge between despair and hope. Maria's voice falters. She glances at Emma and her mother, both smiling, both alive. "To live," she whispers, "is to recognize the fragile threads that bind us. To be human is to guard those threads with everything we have." The quiet after months pass. Maria returns to her pediatric ward, arm healed, spirit fortified. She keeps Emma's drawing pinned above her desk, a talisman against fatigue, a reminder that time and again, compassion will demand sacrifice, and that sacrifice will paint meaning onto the canvas of her life, sometimes during a night shift. Lo, Maria stands by a darkened window overlooking the parking lot's constellation of streetlights. She presses a palm against the cool glass, feeling the thaw.